Here's a short segment from one of my free public workshops. I hope you enjoy it.
So what is probate? Probate is the state's rule book. What do I mean by that? Well, the state has rules. We call them laws and statutes. And they tell you how you have to pass things by will. Okay? So if I own anything in my own name at the time of my death, who's it going to belong to if I die? Because guess what? I can't own it anymore. When you die, you lose your right of ownership. You've heard you can't take it with you? Well, you can't. Somebody has to own it, though, and if I died, I can't own it anymore. Probate is nothing more than the legal process to change the ownership of any asset from a live person, from a dead person to a live person, or to a church, a charity, some kind of an organization, school, something like that. How does that work? Well, the personal representative, that's the person we used to call the executor. Okay? Back in 2000, Michigan changed its probate code and rewrote it, and they changed the name from executor to personal representative. That way we don't have to mess with executor, executrix, if it's a man or a woman. It's just personal representative. Well, that person has to take your will down to the probate court, and they register it along with your death certificate with the probate court. Then the judge determines who the appropriate person will be to be the personal representative. He looks at the will, he or she looks at the will, and decides who that person should be. Then he issues what are called letters of authority for that personal representative to act and administer under the will. They've got several duties then after that to perform. The first one is the duty of notice. The personal representative has to first give notice to any possible creditors. So they put a notice in the newspaper. You've probably seen these in the legal listings. So-and-so's estate is being probated. Well, what that does is gives any possible creditors 120 days to make a claim against the dead person's estate. That car, okay? Maybe in this case, I bought it from Steve, but I didn't get him all paid off. So now he's gonna make a claim against my estate, or someone who thinks I owed them some money. They're going to make a claim, but they have 120 days. After that 120 days, they can't make a claim anymore. They're barred. The other notice that has to be given is to known creditors. The personal representative has to send a form to every known creditor of mine if I've died. If I own, or if I had a credit card and I had an outstanding balance. Well, they got to let them know. Anyone that they know that I owe money to, they have to get a written notice. The third notice has to go to heirs. Every heir of mine has to get a individual written notice. Now, who here has heirs? You all do? Okay, you're all wrong. None of you have heirs. How do I know that? I'm going to give you the two-finger test. Okay, hold up two fingers. Put them on the inside of your opposite wrist. You feel that little bumping sensation? That's a pulse. If you've got a pulse, you don't have heirs. An heir is someone you leave behind after you've died. Okay? So like in my example with my wife right at the beginning, and I died and she was in a coma. I died and I had a disabled heir. I never would have realized that I would have had an heir who was disabled before I died. It's only determined at the time of your death. So the personal representative has to give written notice to every one of your heirs. In that written notice, it gives them their rights and what to do if they want to. And one of the things that they have the right to do is contest the will. Does that ever happen? Yeah? Well, a lot of times people will say to me, Bill, that'll never happen to my family. We don't have to worry about that. Everybody loves each other. No one would think about contesting a will. Well, attorneys love to hear that. Why? Well, if it comes to a fight, who wins in a fight?
The attorney.
Exactly, the attorneys win. The family's going to lose every time. So, we have to give notice. We have to give the 120 days notice. We have to give notice to the family members and to known creditors. Then we also have to do the personal representative, has to do the final income tax of the deceased person. Uncle Sam takes a bite out of you even after you're gone, based on the number of days you were alive in the year of your death. And we got to wait for that to get back before the court will end and allow you to wrap up the proceedings, because the court wants to make sure that Uncle Sam's going to get his. We're not going to let somebody die and distribute all the funds and Uncle Sam is owed some money and not able to collect. We're going to make sure Uncle Sam gets his. So that's the probate process. It's long, it's time consuming, and it can cause some family issues, some fights. Think of probate like a garbage disposal. Okay? What do I mean by that? Why do we think of probate as a garbage disposal? Well, it works pretty well like a garbage disposal. Stuff goes in, goes out. Right? It does its job. It cleans things up and distributes stuff. But if your garbage disposal plugs up, what do you have to do? You have to reach down in there. You got to dig out that chicken bone or spoon or whatever it is that's plugging it up. Well, what do you do first? Turn it off. Yeah, you don't want to come up with a stump, right? So you turn it off first. Well, think of probate like a garbage disposal. It works really well, but also imagine this garbage disposal with all your heirs lined up with their finger on the switch, and they can throw it whenever they want to. Yeah, pretty graphic, but what I mean by that is it works well when it works, but when things go wrong, they go real wrong real fast. If you'd like to know more about estate planning, elder law, Medicaid planning, senior VA benefits, or if you have specific questions that you'd like answered, give me a call and schedule a free, no-obligation consultation. You see, I don't charge for information, and I don't try to sell you products. So give me a call today and get the answers that you need.